So, Spielberg's Disclosure Day.
Yeah,
I saw a Jonathan Pajot video about it,
I watched it too.
where he is arguing that this is the last great boomer propaganda movie.
Yeah.
His idea was essentially that this is anti-faith, it's anti-Christian, and it's a typical Hollywood attack on the edifice of faith.
Okay.
Now, I didn't get around to watching it,
Yeah.
but you did.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on that proposition?
Okay. So I think that look, I've been on the side of the right wing who've been complaining about this stuff with Hollywood on most topics, and I feel like they have a point with Hollywood mostly taking it too far with a lot of the stuff. I did not see this movie at all as like anti-Christian or anti-faith. Really, I didn't. Maybe you had one or two references maximum towards like, oh, if aliens come down to Earth, will people not start believing in aliens instead of God? Like there was like one line like that, but it's just one line. And honestly, that's not like an unreasonable question to ask. I'm sure that even in real life, if aliens come down, some people might worship the aliens. It's not that unbelievable. You know what I mean? I didn't think it was like inherently like anti-faith or anti-Christian or anything. Um, if anything, like they try to give like Christianity some props in it. Like I remember there was a moment in which one of the main characters, one of the girls, she's an ex-nun or she's a nun, right? And she asks like the mother figure in the nun in the church, like, oh, aren't we God's greatest creation? How can there be a creature more advanced than us? And then the nun says to her, like, we are God's greatest creation on earth, you know? So that is kind of like, I don't know Christian scripture. I don't know how accurate that is, but that's kind of like, no, aliens can be real, but God can be real as well. That's how I kind of infer that. I didn't necessarily see it as like some anti-Christian, anti-faith movie.
How boomer do you think it was?
It was boomer.
Yeah.
It was boomer, yeah, because you had basically it's basically like this. The central plot of the movie is like this fight between these two like intelligence agencies that are, one is anti-alien disclosure, one is pro-alien disclosure, and the one who's pro-alien disclosure used to work at the other agency, and now they're like, the aliens are our friends, they want to give us our technology. We need to have empathy for the aliens. So yeah, like, and the great gift of the aliens is empathy. Like they were literally like the leader of the rebel intelligence agencies. Like the gift of the aliens is going to be empathy, and we can transcend.
Okay, that is
into-
insanely boomer.
that is boomer.
That's like boomers making something for a millennial audience.
Yeah, that is a bit. I'm not going to say it isn't.
So it's just a Spielberg movie, bro. It's a Hollywood
movie.
summer blockbuster.
Yeah, it's a Hollywood summer. I don't think it was particularly anti-Christian, anti-faith. It was, yeah, it is like, it was inclusive, if you want to say. If you want
Yeah.
to look into the innuendos behind all of these things, it's like, allow immigration. Maybe we can learn so much from these, aliens type.
Yeah.
This is not my culture, it's not my war. I don't really give a about that. I
Yeah.
don't, like, it's not my problem. I didn't particularly see it as anti-faith.
But do you think that ultimately, do you think that, like, for example, now all the Daily Wire does now,
Yeah.
like Ben Shapiro and Michael Knowles, and because they've lost a huge part of their base because of their position on foreign issues. They just talk about culture war stuff and like
Yeah.
the most low grade stuff you can imagine.
Yeah.
And that's really deepened the sensitivity around those topics in that particular right wing echo chamber that they have in the US.
Yeah.
Deepened sensitivity, and also there's an incentive now to always rehash these
find
issues.
that, always
Yeah.
attach that issue, find that issue.
Because younger
where it might
people
not be
who
there.
are, say, very sensitive on issues like trans rights or immigration otherwise,
Yeah.
and they're very conservative on it, but they're not with the Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro type hijinks on foreign affairs, on APAC. It is natural that every chance you get, you're going to drum up a panic. I don't typically include Jonathan Pajot in that category of people at all, but that doesn't mean he can't fall prey to the cycle of incentives and sensitivity.
Yeah.
But do you think that has a role to play in it? Where everyone's like just too touchy about this
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah, absolutely. It's like peak culture war. They're trying to find things where they aren't there. I'm sure there's some people who are more well versed in like Christian metaphysics or whatever who can tell me why it's anti-Christian.
But at
But
the
from
very
somebody
least,
who's like kind of interested in stuff, like I was keeping my eye open to any references and stuff. I don't think there was much anti-Christian references. There was a lot of like occult references, mystical references littered throughout the movie. But I don't think there were necessarily that many anti-Christian. They don't have to. By the way, they're not always the same thing. Technically
but
speaking,
I feel like then,
occult and anti-Christian are mutually
yeah.
exclusive.
So for example, someone who's more Gnostic leaning would look into that and say that, oh, there is an exploration of faith present in this movie.
Yeah, there is,
right?
there is, yeah.
But maybe someone who's a bit more orthodox or scripturally attached would look at it and say, oh, the larger message of this movie does not fall within a faith-based ambit. Maybe it's something like that. But at the very least, you can get away with saying there was no dramatic pointed attack which would make you say that this is fundamentally an anti-faith boomer propaganda movie.
No, absolutely not. It's a lip propaganda movie. It's not an anti-Christian boomer propaganda movie.
Okay.
You know what I mean? If you want to say it's a lip propaganda, okay, I can see the argument. There's a strong, actually, the central message of it is like, hey, let's let these aliens win. They're probably our friend. So it's like I can see that that line of argument is fair, but the anti-Christian stuff, look, there was definitely occult imagery, occult references littered throughout the movie. Like, I'll give you an example.
So then a person from the other side would say,
yeah,
and I actually think this is kind of reasonable, where they'd say that, look, you are now so ingrained into Hollywood culture and mass culture and occult references in the media you consume that you're no longer sensitive to it as you should be, right? Which, from a faith-based perspective, I'm not that sensitive with this stuff. Like, what kind of media I consume. But from someone who's coming purely from a faith-based perspective, I don't think that's a crazy thing to suggest either.
But here's the thing, man. Even with the occult, the mystical stuff, right? Mysticism has been a part of a lot of religions and stuff. Whether you want to call it occult or whether you want to see a devilish side in it, there is devilish side to it.
Yeah.
It's not all like that. Like, a lot of the references, like, when we think about Ibn Sina's cosmological structure of the universe, right? There is, a lot of the people who sound the alarms about occult things everywhere would say, oh, that's occult, because it's functionally the same emanation structure as the Kabbalah. You know what I mean?
And very specifically,
I'm not very, very like, oh, it's occult, so it has to be like, something nefarious. There are particular occult references that are nefarious, but not all of them are.
No, I understand. But I'm saying that, look, I also understand it somewhat that way.
Yeah.
But for someone who's looking at it from a dogmatic orthodox lens,
Yeah.
they would simply read it as occult, therefore anti my version of Christianity, which is what a very significant amount of Americans in that subscribe to.
Based upon my layman's reading, right? I think it's like the Catholic Church and the occult schools have a big fight. But Orthodox Russian type and even Protestants, I think they use a lot of that stuff.
It's mixed into it a lot.
It's mixed into it.
Now, coming to a general discussion,
Yeah.
Let's war game. We're sitting here today. We're sitting in.
Yeah, but I just want to actually touch on some of the fun occult references
Yeah,
that were
of
in
course.
there, because like I was watching the movie and I was catching them while they were happening. It's this newfound fun thing I have. So one of the very interesting things is that the movie's called Disclosure Day. Okay, so it's basically spoiler alert. It's about these people who've uncovered this 100-year-old conspiracy truths that aliens are real, humans are in contact with aliens, the intelligence agencies are in contact with aliens, and they want to disclose it. Now, the particular place they disclose it at is this news station called KCXE4. Now, I'm thinking in that, I'm like, there's obviously occult symbology here. What is the numerological root of KCXE4? And if you use the unreduced version, which is a more heterodox version of numerology, it comes down to 11. And why is 11 important? Because 11 on the numerological scale, it stands for chaos, disorder, new beginnings, like a disclosure in a way, So there is like that. I don't know if many people have commented on this, but KCXE4, it turned into that.
Also the name itself, Disclosure Day.
Yeah.
Bro, throughout the cosmology of Ibn Arabi,
Yeah.
uh, Plotinus, all of
All
these
the
guys,
Neoplatonists, yeah.
the words that the words that Islamic ones especially, and a lot of them are using, is divine self-disclosure. That the coming to be of the world is the unfurling of the one, right? It is the disclosure of one
Yeah.
as many different, or as a multitude of beings,
Yeah.
right? Or as differentiations in reality,
Yeah.
right? So that name itself is kind of like, so if aliens are a form of divine self-disclosure,
Yeah.
right? That
Yeah.
directly feeds into the terminology that the
Yeah,
mystics use.
and what was interesting about this movie is that they didn't frame the aliens as having this unbelievable technology of energy and stuff. The aliens have a specific psychic technology in which they can just read people's mind, and they have like this psychic. They have like a sixth sense type of thing. So if you want to make a direct analogy to like the emanatory structure, they're higher up on that emanatory structure. You know, they have a higher degree of consciousness. They're closer to the monad, the one in which the sense that their psychic abilities are enhanced. So basically, the vessel for these two, for the alien race, they chose this one man and this one woman. The one woman, the man can communicate, understand the aliens, and the woman can convey the alien terminology to humans. So they're both different sides of the vessel, but operationally they have to like come together. And I think towards the end of it, like psychically, their consciousness, like they merge into a single being and stuff. And in the Kabbalah, they talk about like the primordial human. That's Adam Kadmon. That's the androgynous human, which is has both the archetypical qualities of the man and the woman. So I think that was like a pretty on the nose reference to Adam Kadmon, as in it's the primordial human who has those elevated psychic abilities, who is who is the complete human, androgynous human, because even though like they still maintain their bodies psychically, they merge into one, but they just play separate roles in it. One gets the message from the aliens, one gives it to the humans. As above, so below. There, you had all these things kind of going on there. So that's something. There was occult imagery, of course. Like the entire promotion of the movie was all the eye stuff. So whenever there's an eye, the schizoids are gonna start getting nosebleeds. But and fairly so, there's a lot of there. So if you want to count that anti-Christian, you can. It's fair. I am not totally unsympathetic to it, but I don't think it's on the nose anti-Christian. But maybe that's what just makes it great propaganda. Like you can't even tell it happening.
Maybe the reason it doesn't register as very strong propaganda anymore is because the propaganda before has just been so strong that our baseline now is like,
Yeah.
of course there's an eye on the poster of this movie.
Yeah,
Of course.
but
What's
I
the
mean,
big deal?
But here's the thing, like if you want to take like if Jonathan Peugeot or somebody wants to make like this is an anti-Christian movie, right? I feel like this is a better angle to tackle on all the occult stuff rather than like it's anti-Christian, because it's really not that on the nose anti-Christian. It's more symbological stuff that you. Okay, there's an argument.
Okay, interesting.
Now,
okay.
Have you seen the movie Arrival?
I haven't, no.
It dealt with the subject of alien potentially coming onto Earth and potentially collaborating with humans in a much better, more mature way. It's a better movie.
What was the difference?
It treated potential alien disclosure and aliens coming to Earth with the type of existential anxiety it would actually bring. Because in this, you just had one side. You had two really dogmatic sides, in which one side is like, yeah, there's no risk of the aliens. There's no risk at all, and one side is like, probably doing the mature thing, that's like keeping it away and keeping it under wraps. But that movie actually deals with the existential conundrum of what it would be like if aliens came down. Would they be friend or foe?
Okay.
Really, really well. So it's a much better movie. If you want to watch a good alien, if you want to watch good alien slop, watch Arrival. That's the best alien slop movie for sure.
Well, speaking of reactions to aliens landing on Earth,
Yeah.
if tomorrow you were at Qaeda-e-Azam's Mazar and an alien spaceship landed next to it,
Yeah.
how do you think we're reacting?
Who's we?
The world at large, Pakistan.
Let's start with like on theme of the movie, which is the faith question. Would some people lose faith? I think that the biggest part of like existential dread would actually be for people like atheists. I think atheists will have a tough time with this. if aliens decided that if aliens were these super advanced, almost demigod entities that came to Earth, right? I think atheists would have a hard time putting their head around it. I think the first people who would start worshipping it are like atheists.
How come?
Man, because atheists, right, they're very, very like empirical. They're very, very like, if it's there, I'll believe it. It's there. They have demigod technology, you know? That's kind of what their entire project depends on. I can't see God, so I'm not going to accept God.
Like,
but
at
if
the
you
very
have this
least-
alien race that has this type of like, you know, absolutely divine, almost divine power, I would think they would have some problems coming to terms with that, what that means.
But wouldn't they just say that this is a more materially advanced society than ours is?
They could.
Because the way I think of it is, like, if I were an atheist and I saw aliens come down which had demigod-like powers,
Yeah.
right? Look, if it's god-like, then it's just God,
Yeah.
right? Then you're done. But if it's demigod-like, I think the atheist response would more likely be, oh, this is where the pantheons come from. You get what I'm saying,
I get
right? And that in reality it's material, and it's a more materially advanced race, and that this does not necessarily prove a divine creator.
But given the fact that
But the level of cope they go to, I mean,
given
like-
the fact that atheists like low-key worship science, and then you have this like, you know, scientific super race, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of them start worshipping it. They choose to be like
Yeah.
squires and stuff, or
Yeah,
something
no,
like that. You
absolutely.
know what I mean? I think another people who would have a tough time with it are like, you know, people who have purely exoteric readings of religion. You know, if you know, I think they might have a tough time with it.
well, it depends what you mean by that, because look, orthodox positions in Christianity and Islam, there's enough orthodoxy in both Christianity and Islam that does not preclude the arrival or existence of other races.
Yeah.
Like I was reading about this, there's a specific like 2nd century church doctrine
Yeah.
which explicitly states that to say God is not capable of creating beings other than us is a heresy in and of itself.
Yeah.
Right? And the same way in Islam, there is a part of orthodoxy that says that, you know, they can't
I'm not
exist.
referring to orthodoxy
Yeah.
here. I'm referring to people who are purely exoteric. They think that it's just a matter of practices and stuff, and you have to say a couple of things.
But why would they in particular find it difficult?
Because they're the ones who tend to have like, at least in like Christianity, they tend to have a little bit more of a, you know, anti-mystical take on things. Oh, it's just us in this world. Like they're the ones who get really, really like nervous at these type of alien type prospects and stuff. I think they would have a tough time.
Do you think it would affect you at all?
No.
Same.
I don't think it would affect me at all. I think it would actually make my faith stronger in any way, because like operationally speaking, I feel like, you know, the way aliens have been depicted in media as normally having these psychic powers, or they're like, you know, these extra dimensional beings and stuff, right? We kind of have that already in the form of jinns, demons. Most traditions have some type of reference to it. Our alien is just like the scientific secular word for it, but operationally, the way aliens have been described, they do the same things that
No, but look, like,
demons
okay,
and jinns
for
and
example,
spirits do.
the reason it's an interesting question in
Yeah.
Islamic theology is because you've got jinns as the hidden beings of fire, you've got angels as the hidden beings of light,
Yeah.
but a corporeal, terrestrially available being
Yeah.
that lands from another planet onto yours,
Yeah.
that's what makes certain people be like, oh, like, we would have been told about it, but
But
it's
I
like,
think the planet is in a lot of these cases would be so far away, it would kind of be like it's coming from a different dimension. And if it's coming from a different dimension, right, that has metaphysical implications as well. It could very well be a jinn coming from it, because jinns also exist in a different dimension to us, right? They could be right next to us.
no, but
maybe
they're
aliens
a
could
very
be like-
specific thing, nah?
Yeah.
They're a jinn, we know what jinns are. That's the
Yeah.
thing in Islamic theology. We know what a jinn is.
Yeah.
We know what an angel is. An alien, in the terms that we understand it in popular culture,
Yeah.
would be a literal being who comes. And
No.
it could maybe be one of those things, but it doesn't have to be one of those things.
I mean,
right?
here's the
The
thing.
question is when it arrives as a third thing, and that is actually the question that Islamic theologians ask.
Yeah.
They don't generally ask about the jinn or the
Yeah.
angel, because we know what the jinn or the angel is.
enough.
Right? You're asking about a secret third thing.
Yeah.
But what happens if that arrives? And again, like, you know, if in a God that is not necessitated by anything or anyone and has no limits to, and is explicit in our scripture. He adds to the universe as he pleases. Maybe they didn't exist yesterday, they exist like right now.
Yeah.
Maybe they're being created as we speak.
Yeah.
So I don't think it presents any particular problem to theology at all.
I think let's suppose they come from a different dimension, right? So now we have the possibility that there's a multiple dimensions.
Yeah.
Let's suppose there are infinite dimensions. The chance of God existing, so to say, in one of those dimensions is not zero. Chances are he probably exists in one of those dimensions. But if he exists in one of those dimensions, he would have to exist in all of them out of virtue of him being omnipotent God, right? Do you get what I mean? I'm going a bit Ibn Sina with this.
I don't get it actually.
No, like, okay, if there are a million there are a million dimensions, is there a non-zero chance of God existing in one of those dimensions? Yes.
But God as we know it, or as Ibn Sina knows it, or as Ashri, or as anyone.
No, forget it. I'm
know
just telling you
Oh,
thought
I'm saying-
experiment. Suppose in this universe, suppose,
Yeah.
thought experiment, the atheists are right. There is no God of this universe, suppose. But we know that there are countless other dimensions.
No, but God by definition does not exist in the universe.
Yeah, but like this is how people understand it, right? Like God of this universe or whatever. God existing in one dimension would necessitate he would have to exist in all dimensions. It's kind of what I'm coming at. Do you know what I mean?
I will have to sleep on that.
I mean, think
I'm not
about it.
catching it. I'm not catching it.
Fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough. Okay, never mind. What do you think? What would you think if it happened if aliens were real?
Man, I think it would be an incredible addition to the array of natural phenomenon. The majesty of mountains proves God. The intricacy of a lady, like of a bug, proves God. And then this is another being in that array of beings for me that proves the majesty of God. That's it.
That's there, but okay, now what do you think will happen in like the world? Like what would happen? Do you think the world would unite and be like, okay, we need to fight the aliens?
Bro, सबसे पहले तो फ्रेंच बीच पे ईटी का मज़ार बनेगा.
हाँ.
ठीक है. There's going to be that section of people.
Yeah.
There's going to be extreme suspicion in any second or third world country, where generally highly armed, militarized in different ways, our societies are combative.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. We come from a place of economic insecurity, different types of instability, external attack. That would get hypercharged in a situation where you're literally dealing with a threat that you cannot know anything about right off the bat. So I don't know, man.
Mir Jafar is who sell us out to the aliens.
Who's gonna be the aliens ka Mir Jafar in Pakistan, bro?
In Pakistan, I don't know. Globally, George Soros.
George Soros would do like a press conference with like the prime minister of the aliens or something.
Yeah,
bro.
for sure.
Okay.
For sure. The head of the EU.
Bro, Klaus Schwab, bro. Klaus Schwab is it?
Klaus Schwab.
He's going to be head of the committee on interdimensional beings relationships or something.
Interdimensional economics.
Yeah, something like that.
Like that, yeah. So these would be...
I think it would be pretty crazy. It would be pretty split. But, I feel like this theories around it would be so fascinating. Because like the 5%er Nation of Islam guys would be like, look, this is actually Yaqub. Okay?
This is Yaqub. Yaqub has come to destroy us. The white man did it.
Yeah. And then there's going to be some people are going to be like, oh,
the Hyperboreans are
here.
here.
The Hyperboreans are here. The Anunnaki have arrived.
Yeah.
Okay. Some people.
These are the Jews. They're revealing the real reptilian form.
Yeah. And then they'll be like, I don't know, bro. They'll be like. Someone's gonna turn up, like make a pantheon out of them. There'll be like 12.
Probably, yeah.
There'll be like 12 of them.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's the one thing the movies write about. I think a lot of people will start worshipping the aliens.
Yeah. It'll splinter. I think the reaction will be very diverse.
I would actually be surprised if the vast majority of humanity does not start worshipping the alien if they came. I think the vast majority would.
And people are going to listen, like hear what you just said and think it's outrageous and be like, huh, I'd never do that. And it's like, buddy, if you can like kill yourself at the altar of money day in and day out, trust me, you can kill yourself at the altar of interdimensional beings.
interdimensional, omnipotent beings who have like this incredible powers and stuff. If aliens have like these crazy technologies, be it physical or psychic technology, yeah, no shit, most of us are going to end up worshipping it. Like it's not that far fetched.
I mean, the
I
equivalent
mean, we've
of
always,
this.
I mean, historically, I mean, we also have a bit of this in our genetic blueprint, right? We thought the heavens and the gods or whatever, if you look at Greek mythology or Norse mythology, the gods lay up there, right? And look at this being that's coming down. So I think a lot of these, like, this would like give a big revival to a lot of pagan community. There would be like a neo-paganism, like
Yeah.
the gods from the sky that have literally come down onto earth to show
Bro,
us their way.
ET ka mazar.
Ah.
And bro,
You know,
even,
they say that they made the pyramid, they did all this stuff anyways.
bro, the Islamic blueprint of how all of us, of how a lot of us will react to Dajjal is a pretty good reading for how we would react to aliens. Because the Islamic idea is that he's going to show you what looked like on the surface miracles. He will actually accomplish some things that seem, like they say that he'll cut a person in half and put him back together. You know, there's lots of
I
these
would
things.
assume, like, crazy alien would be able to do that.
So the idea being, obviously, this is a thought exercise at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to take away from this, is that the aliens you described actually have powers that are crazier than what Dajjal is described as having.
Yeah.
So if the majority or if a large proportion of the world's population is going to end up worshipping Dajjal,
Yeah.
like 90% of people will end up worshipping those
Yeah.
aliens.
The first people who would end up worshipping are the Pahlavists.
Yeah.
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 You know what I mean?
Iranian diaspora, coconuts, brown coconuts in the West.
Yeah.
And progressive
you got-
farm. But
progressive.
yeah, this is going to be like the main demographic that worships these people.
I can see that. I can see that. The Chinese will try to eat them.
But do you think if aliens came to Earth tomorrow, they'd choose New York or Beijing as a capital?
New York.
Yeah.
New York has some freaky vibes, bro.
Yeah.
New York for sure.
Speaking of New York and its freaky vibes,
Yeah.
how did you like it?
It was really cool, man. It was.
Yo. Could you put the cap on, please?
Yeah. So I went to America. I go to America. I'm making a Borat reference. Funny story. I actually saw Sacha Baron Cohen at this place in New York.
Where did you see him, bro?
I was at this like like this members club type place, and he was literally on the table right next to us. I literally saw him there. So yeah, I go to America, and I went to New York for the first time in my life, and I got this as a souvenir.
Bro, do you feel
I went to Trump Tower. I'm like, I'm not going to get like a Statue of Liberty, fridge magnet, or I'm not going to get an I Love NY t-shirt. So what is the way to commemorate my visit to the empire, the world empire? It's this, right? So I went to Trump Tower. I got it. It had like a little MAGA shop right there. There was a poor black guy who's working there, and like he looked like he did not want to be there at all. I'm like, yeah, bro. Can I have this?
He's probably looking at you like, you too, bro.
You too? What the? It's like, you could tell he hated his life working there.
Like he's forced to work there. You're not forced to buy that cap.
Yeah. So he had this look of disdain, but I'm like, yeah, I want the red one, bro. It's like $50 or some shit, bro.
Why?
So basically, he gave it to me. He gave it to me in like a transparent bag. A transparent bag. And I'm like, okay, fine. Why the fuck not? Okay, I leave from Tower. I'm shopping. I'm going around like the nice areas and stuff. And bro, people are giving me the dirtiest looks possible because of this. It's New York. We're in lip capital. You know what I mean? This is lip capital. They could look through the see-through bag. You could see the Trump logo on the see-through bag. You could see there's a red cap inside. Bro, I got such dirty looks. And I was in like a nice part of town. I'm thinking, bro, if I stroll off with this, I generally started feeling, bro, I need to get back to the hotel ASAP and leave this, and then I'll come back out. And that's literally what I did.
Do not go to Harlem wearing the Make America Great Again cap.
I mean, I wasn't anywhere close to Harlem. I was like in.
You wouldn't go to Harlem, bro. You're a burger.
Harlem. I went to the Bronx, though. I'll tell you the story about that. I went to the fucking Bronx. Yeah. But yeah, I was just started getting dirty as looks. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna dip. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Bro, what were you doing hobnobbing with Sacha Baron Cohen, bro? You're buying Trump key caps, bro. You're hobnobbing with Sacha Baron Cohen. What are you doing, bro?
So
you're a CIA plant, bro, at this point.
Yeah. No, I wasn't hobnobbing. He just happened to be on the table right next to us. He was there with like, a bunch of 20-year-old girls like straight out of uni. I was like, fair enough, man.
Interesting.
Yeah, he was doing, but New York, it's like that. It's like that. Like, it's easy to look at that place and be like, yeah, it makes sense why Epstein operated out of here. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
It has that vibe. But real talk, it I had never been before. It had this hype, like, this is the greatest city in the world, and New Yorkers are like infamously like cringe and annoying on social media. It's like they think they're like, the entire world is on Manhattan and Brooklyn. They're f***ing irritating. Like, their little mayoral elections got the entire world involved for some reason. Like, we don't give a about you, New York. Like, the New York Knicks win the championship, and it's like the entire world has to celebrate with New York about it.
I actually
But-
loved that moment as a moment because I was like, I really like knowing
Yeah.
that, we're often harsh on certain kinds of activism, soft activism.
Yeah.
I feel vindicated knowing that when the Epstein scandal came out,
Yeah.
nothing happened.
Yeah.
New Yorkers and Americans en masse did not give a right? But when the New York Knicks won,
Yeah.
New York Knicks won, these guys lost it. They,
Yeah.
मतलब उन्होंने तो ऐसे किया जैसे मतलब ना I don't know, सबके student loans माफ हो गए हैं.
I mean, to be fair, the Knicks had not won since the 70s. Like, sports are fun. I like sports ball, okay? I like sports ball. I'm not going to shit on sports ball here.
See, look, I
Sports ball is fun. Sports ball is fun, bro.
I've loved playing sports in my life.
Yeah.
I like watching sports.
Yeah.
Sports but
feel
there
like-
is something to be said
Yeah.
about the bread and circus angle of awarding such commitment to one thing and not to the other specifically.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this about everyone, but from a city full of virtue signalers,
Yeah.
from a city that never hesitates to ask you, oh, what are you doing about the latest cause?
Yeah.
Right? From that city, it seems pretty interesting to me that Epstein incites nothing and New York Knicks incites a f***ing riot.
I'll tell you something. I where I depart with you on this is that, like, in a world full of fake, movies are not real, reality show is not real, nothing is real, right? The one piece of spectacle that still feels real is sport, because sports is the most meritocratic single industry in the world, as in, like, you don't get on a professional team because your dad owns the team, you don't get on a professional team because you're a billionaire's son, if you're an athlete, if you're a professional athlete, you're there because you are the top genetic outlier in the world to get there.
See, but
And
what
it's
I'm
not
saying
really- let
doesn't
me-
preclude that.
No, but let me finish now. It makes sense for any place in the world, because with all the fakeness in the world, sports kind of lies out as like, it's the one thing that it's kind of real. It kind of keeps us all in like our nice little going seats, and it's like, hey, that's real, that's inspirational, and I think it has value because of that. And New York being, it's quite fake, people are pretty performative, it makes sense that they would be extra deep about something that is actually real, because like you said, they tend to be like kind of fake and performative about most things, right? That's the one thing that's real. So it makes sense
But I
in a
mean,
way.
the Epstein files is real.
Yeah, but what are we doing about it? Like, let's not.
No, I'm just saying they're not doing anything about it. My point is
Nobody
not
doing
this.
anything about
but
it. Nobody can do anything about it, bro. Come on. Let's be real.
But I mean, you can at least come on the streets about it, right? If George Soros can fund no kings and bring a lot of people onto the street,
Who's funding an Epstein program?
exactly. That's my point.
But
That's
no,
my point.
But
No,
that's
I'm saying,
true for
no,
every. That's
but
true
this
for
is not
every
a comment.
There's no such thing as an indigenous political movement. Then, bro,
No,
like every
I know.
every political movement is establishment sponsored in some way. Then, no.
I agree. I
Yeah.
don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
But this is not even a comment on the nature of sports. This
Yeah.
is a comment on the specific state of mind of
Yeah.
the consumer
Yeah.
who is always virtue signaling,
Yeah.
who is always talking about, did you post the black square?
Yeah.
Did you wear the rainbow lanyard?
Yeah.
And then this person spends days celebrating this victory. I'm not saying it's wrong to celebrate the
Yeah.
victory. I'm saying from that person's POV, it makes no sense for them to virtue signal for years on end about everything. But when it comes to Epstein, they're not even on the streets about it. It's not.
I mean, fair enough, but that's not exclusive to New York, right? That's exclusive. That's every fucking.
no, but I'm not
city.
saying it's exclusive in New York. I mean,
No, but we're
this-
talking about the New York Knicks. They're so going so.
Yeah, but if something happened there, it's a general sentiment replicated everywhere else. It doesn't mean it's not true for them.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not going to hold them to a sport for that. There's plenty of things to complain about them, but like nobody's doing anything about anything, bro. It's like, the overlords will decide, what's going to be done about what. But I think culturally though, I think people were nice there, man. Not gonna lie, because you can't help but compare London and New York. People in New York were much nicer than London. Not gonna lie, people are
Really?
much more real. Yeah, Londoners are like the local geezer types are fucking nice. These guys you see at the pub, in love with their sports teams and stuff. They're very very sweet, fun, jolly, happy-go-lucky guys. They just want to drink their beers and stuff. But the vast majority of more upper class coded like British people are not very nice. You know what I mean? Like the people I met in America, most people seem quite nice. Manhattan was much friendlier than Zone One London. There's no doubt
Yeah,
about that.
yeah,
You
I
know what
can
I
see
mean?
that. I
They're
can see
much.
that.
They're a lot. They're pretentious in this different way, but in terms of niceness and being open and stuff, they're a lot less pretentious than a lot of people. They're not
Yeah.
very very snobby and elitist like that. If you seem cool, if you want to sit and have a conversation with them, they're down. They're very friendly people. Like I made so many new random friends, bro. Like you can't like make friends like that in London. It's impossible. You can't make friends like that in Karachi. It's impossible to make new friends in Karachi. I made so
Where are
many.
you gonna make new friends in Karachi? Like literally where?
No, but even if even if there are places you can make new friends, people think 1,000 times before they talk to each other, right?
Yeah, no, that's I'm
I
agreeing
made,
with you.
like,
I'm saying it's so
yeah.
weird. Like, are you going like you're not going up to like a stranger ever
Yeah,
here?
I literally made 7, 8 new friends, like people I met once or twice on my trip while I was there. Like I met them one time, once randomly, had a nice conversation. We were out somewhere through a mutual friend, this, that, and it's like, you're my homie now. We
You
met
ran into some
again.
Burger Shop fans too.
Yeah. So we were I was at it's coffee shop in on Fifth Avenue, which is like there, like it's like a cool street there, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm him. Yeah, that was kind of fun. Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, so we have a footprint in the capital of the world. But
We also had a message on the Burger Shop account saying, Baz, you were at Blank Street Coffee at 2 p.m. I saw you, didn't get a chance to say hi.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Shout out
So-
the burgers, bro.
Shout out the burgers. Yeah. So overall, it was cool. Not gonna lie, it was very very spiritually Jewish. It felt very Jewish, like every other place. You had
And it is.
Shabbat,
They've
Lubavitch
got a
Center.
deep imprint on that
Yeah,
city.
yeah. I think it's like the most Jewish city in the world is New York. Like every other street, you had a Shabbat, Lubavitch Center, you had a synagogue and stuff. So that was that. But the place had a vibe, no doubt. Like I thought it was gonna be overrated. It was pretty sick. Not gonna lie, it's pretty sick.
I can imagine.
I can see why New Yorkers are so obsessed with their city. Why they think that nothing beyond New York is even worthwhile. It really is a cool place. Not gonna lie, there's a lot happening.
fair
There's a
enough.
lot happening there.
Fair
It just has a vibe. It has an electricity to it. You know what I mean? Especially like the downtown area, like near Central Park and stuff. I didn't like it that much, but like downtown, like near the Soho area, near like Wall Street, near Tribeca, this entire area, it's so cool. Not gonna lie, it's so cool.
What are the Bronx, bro?
The Bronx. So I went to the Bronx with like a group of friends because there was like this DJ playing there, and we're like, "There's a cool event there. You want to go?" I'm like, "F it, it's my last day, second last day. Why the not? Let's go." And I went, and it was like, it was so gritty, bro. We were at a fish
Yeah.
market.
Nice.
I was a DJ set on a fish market, and it just started like it was sunny as fuck. That's why I'm tan all trip. And at that one specific day, it became 5 degrees and it was raining like crazy. And I was just in like a t-shirt, and I'm like, bro, I need to get the out of here. So that was that. But New York was cool, bro. New York is cool.
Nice. Allama Iqbal is a fraud, and he's ripped his concept of the Marde Momin off from Nietzsche's Übermensch.
Okay.
This is a sentiment that I've seen going around on social media.
Yeah.
Quite a bit recently.
Yeah. And you're not happy about it.
And it's not even a take, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
And I intend on just burying this objection today. It's coupled with Iqbal was not really a philosopher. It's coupled with he drew everything from Bergson and Hegel, and he was just a synthesizer.
Literally every philosopher ever
Basically.
deserves that
But
accusation then.
look, dude, let's start with the fact that what is the Marde Momin? What is the Übermensch? Right? Very simply put, the Marde Momin, in his abdiyat, in his slavery to God, attempts to transcend his current times or to reform the world around him. Right? He's a co-creator and a participator in creation with God.
Yeah.
The idea ultimately being that through divine sanction,
Yeah.
through what is already told to you as right and wrong, you participate in world-changing events.
Okay.
The Übermensch, on the other hand, is someone who ultimately looks into himself,
Yeah.
negotiates with himself, finds a creativity there,
Within him, there is a summit. The
With-
summit is within himself.
and then he uses that unique summit of his and asserts that onto the world.
Yeah.
Right? These, yeah, they have some semantic similarities, but ultimately, metaphysically, they're doing things that are completely opposite to each other.
Yeah.
Right? One binds the murder moment to the will of God, and the other one is exactly the opposite. It is, in
Yeah.
fact, a direct social rebellion to the very fact of God.
Yeah.
Right? So, if you take this semantic similarity to mean that this was a ripoff, then not only do you not understand what the Mardeh Momin and what the Übermensch are, you quite literally do not understand how philosophy is done at all.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, there's some operational similarities in the sense that both are these, like, really cool figures who are like pretty individuated, and they're like pretty, like, they're winners, but that's as far as the similarities go.
Yeah, no, there's a structural similarity. There's a similarity in the fact that these are both approaches toward the perfect man.
Yeah.
Right? And that, again, it's like Plato attempted his philosopher king.
Yeah. Aristotle attempted the magnanimous man.
Ibn Arabi, Al-Jalli, Ruhollah Khomeini all had their Insane Kamil.
Yeah.
All of them are aspiring towards their version of a perfect man.
Yeah.
Pre-Plato,
Yeah.
there's Chinese ideas of kingship.
Yeah.
Right? There's Persian ideas of kingship that all, to rationalize the existence of their ruler, said that there is some real or archetypal perfect man.
Yeah.
Right? You see this in Shias with the with their imams.
Yeah.
Right? Where they have a spiritual access to higher ontology and higher metaphysics.
Yeah.
Right? They have often, in some strands of belief, a direct reading of unseen knowledge.
Yeah.
Right? Sunnis hold caliphs to that standard.
Yeah.
Right? Not that they completely embody it, but that they tend towards it. So everyone has had this, and
Yeah.
they've done it 1,000, 3,000, 5,000 years before Plato. Before Plato, Iqbal और Nietzsche तो बहुत बात की बात है,
Yeah.
right? So my point being, dude, like
What is the bulk of the complaint that's being leveled towards? What is the argument that these guys are making? Because I also saw it as well, but you got really, really worked about it. Momi was going to write 5 lines about this. It ended up being like a page, and then it was like
5
it
pages.
ended up being a 5-page, and it's going to be like a Substack article we're going to release very
Yeah.
soon. Yeah, so he's got a lot to say about it. Yeah.
Bro, but look,
So what is the bulk of their complaint? Sorry.
bro, think about it this way,
Yeah.
okay?
What is the argument they're making?
There was a line.
Let's be charitable to the argument. Tell me the argument.
Look, to be very honest, there was not much of an argument, right?
Okay.
It said it literally said that Iqbal's Mardeh Momin is the Übermensch with the prayer cap on. Okay, it's like, okay, then Marx's dialectic is Hegel's dialectic with the divine telos removed.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
how-
the point.
That's, philosophy
That's the
works.
point.
Yeah.
You can apply this to literally anything.
Yeah.
You can say the same thing with Nick Land, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard anyone say that, Marx
He
is
just
not
bastardized Deleuze and Guattari and
that Marx is not really a philosopher, he just ripped everything off from Hegel.
Yeah.
He just took it and he removed the pair cap from it.
he removed the divine
Yeah.
from the dialectic, and dialectic is now only defined by
Who
social
has ever
cycles.
said
Yeah.
that Plato actually stole the idea of a perfect man from the Persians before him,
Yeah.
from the Zoroastrians before him?
Yeah, nobody's
And-
gonna say. See, this is like a self-hating thing that Pakistanis have about themselves. It's like you can't like accept the fact that we did actually come up with this. This guy was ours, and he did do some great things. Like Plato's becoming framework, Parmenides and Heraclitus worked on it before him. Nobody's saying Plato ripped them off, right? Nobody's saying Plotinus ripped Plato off because he made Neoplatonism by reinterpreting Plato's work. That is how philosophical dialogue has kind of moved
Bro,
throughout
and
history.
it's so there's the subject of theology and then philosophy and inquiry, right? But there's also the bare fact of
Yeah.
human beings have certain objectivities in common.
Yeah.
There are only so many ways you can perceive certain things. It is not a coincidence that every single unconnected society in the world has concerns about God, concerns about time, concerns about creation, concerns about day and night, and we all hold these things in common.
Yeah.
These are not coincidences,
Yeah.
right? So obviously, in a reading on time, right, you will make some reference to what has come before you.
Yeah.
Right? That's how it's
course.
always worked. Philosophy, in fact, is taking hair splitting nuance and detail, just the smallest shift, and making that shift make sense.
Yeah.
You have troves and you have scrolls and tomes written to
Yeah.
justify the most minor metaphysical shifts away from a certain position.
Yeah.
Right? Schelling's theodicy is a mix of a certain kind of prior best of all worlds system argument and of Kant's envisioning of a positive kind of evil, whereas before evil in that canon was perceived as a degraded version of light.
Yeah.
That it actually does not matter what that means. I don't even have to explain it. My point being that Schelling, who is now increasingly important in his stature, and people often hold him in similar esteem as Hegel, increasingly so, right? Nobody has ever made the argument that he ripped off Kant and that he ripped off other people before him, right?
No.
There's a critique of his theodicy which says that ultimately the theodicy collapses in on itself, which is actually, I think, viable. But no one says it's unoriginal,
Yeah.
right? So this critique generally comes from people who have no exposure to canon, right? And I'm not saying this in a gatekeepy way where I'm like, oh, you have to read all of these particular things, but you've read nothing,
Yeah.
right? It's the thing like,
Put it in chat GPT.
it is a chat GPT level of understanding. And it's like, look, there's intelligence which is not knowing, which is knowing what you don't know. And then there's whatever the these guys are,
Yeah.
which is you literally don't know what you
Honestly,
don't know.
even if you wanted to say, if you had the humbleness to say that, operationally, at least in the physical material world, maybe not metaphysically, operationally, materially, the Übermensch and the Murder movement do a lot of the same things, I'm sympathetic to that argument. If you want
I
to make that
completely
point.
disagree, actually. I think they
operationally
diverge,
have-
they
No, no,
diverge
but-
even more.
No, I'm saying operationally in the real world.
Oh, absolutely. Bro, functionally
Yeah.
is where the real difference begins. Because the Marde moment, the first step, the three distinct steps,
Yeah.
for the purpose of this argument, you just need the first step, which is you take on inviolably the garb of Sharia,
Yeah.
right? That admission or that ceding of your entire moral framework and
Yeah.
action
I mean
to
more-
a transcendent
I don't mean it in
is
that
the
sense. I'm going
completely
even
different.
more rudimentary. I mean in the sense that they can be creative forces to create in the world. I mean in that sense. They're both like creative, life-affirming yes-sayers. I'm saying it particularly in that sense. There is a similarity there. And that, what I'm not trying to take the argument
No,
side.
no,
What I'm
I-
trying to say is that if you even wanted, if you were humble enough to say that operationally they're kind of describing a similar person in that they're this creative, life-affirming, yes-saying entity who create in the world. One is co-creating with God. One is creating from themselves. That's even going too far, right? I can say that there is some sort of an operational similarity there. But that's as far as where the bug goes. But if you have the humbleness to say that, okay, I think there's a similarity there, that's okay.
Of course there is.
I think that there is a similarity
No,
there as well.
without a doubt.
But this entire thing that we saw, it wasn't even going
Bro,
there. It was good. It was
without
way
a
more
doubt.
arrogant than that.
Bro, without a doubt, there's
Yeah.
a similarity. But
Yeah.
the point is, the Übermensch was a foil used by Iqbal. So, okay, let's be charitable now. Okay, the Übermensch was a foil, as
Yeah.
in it was a device that Iqbal used in opposition to his Marde moment to construct his Marde moment.
Yeah.
Right. Over there, in being charitable, you could say that, oh, so you've just made an inversion, right? You've just made it more divine, right? And you've made like this simple little conversion.
Yeah.
The first exposure Iqbal has to the perfect man
Yeah.
is not Nietzsche.
Yeah.
It's Al-Jali, who he writes about in 1900 when he was 23 years old,
Yeah.
before he ever went to Europe, before he ever read Nietzsche.
Yeah.
And that Ibn Arabi tradition of Insan-e-Kamil was his first exposure to
The perfect man.
the perfect man. What did Iqbal do? Iqbal rejected both. Even though the Insan-e-Kamil had a similar step where where it said that, oh, the Sharia is, you can't do away with it and you have to abide by it and all things come later. He said that no, ultimately, the fana here, the metaphysics of this is ultimately for me still passive, right? And it doesn't go far enough in its creative action,
Yeah.
right? So how does this become valuable, right? One, he didn't just take from his own tradition. He rejected the Insan-e-Kamil in part. He rejected the Übermensch in part. And then he said, I'm going to reconcile these somehow,
Yeah.
right? And the Marde moment is not just a reconciliation of these
Yeah.
two things, but part of it is a reconciliation.
But to get them to even reconcile coherently, that's a philosophical achievement in of itself.
That's the intellectual labor. That is what philosophy is.
That's what philosophy is. That's what when Deleuze, I mean, when Nick Land tries to mix, Freud with Bataille, with Deleuze and Guattari into a coherent framework, that's where the lion's share of the labor is. Yeah, you can
Exactly.
be like, you know what? Yeah, the Übermensch is literally the Marde moment, but you need to make that argument logically coherent. It needs to be strong. It needs to do that's where the intellectual labor actually comes in.
And I love talking about Harold Bloom when it comes to this, because this is something I've always felt, but he gave me more academic language for it.
Yeah.
Where he basically says that, look, everybody is operating in the shadow of their recent predecessors, right? He says this about Whitman's poetry in particular a great deal, where you cannot escape the recent past, right? And in fact, it's kind of like a logical conundrum, right? Iqbal making any renovation because we're recombinatory machines, what the best we can do is renovation. Mark Twain literally said that everything, all art, speech, all of this is plagiarism, right? Is in a sense plagiarism. He's saying it tongue in cheek, of course. But in order for anything Iqbal said to have impact, it had to be in dialogue with what came in the perfect man before him.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would not register as anything consequential.
Most relevant iteration of the perfect man at that time in Europe, where we were studying, it was the Nietzsche's work was like popping off at that time. So it makes sense.
And what he would have had access to, which is the Islamic canon and the Western European canon, it is only natural that he built atop and then subverted, right? Let's take Nietzsche, right? Nietzsche, for the earlier part of his life, was so attached and inspired
by Schopenhauer,
Rousseau,
and Goethe.
Schopenhauer, one of his central concepts is literally the will to live.
The will to truth, the will to live, yeah.
The will to live is a pessimistic earlier version of the will to power.
Yeah.
Now, if I tell you that if I go on the internet tomorrow and I present this as some sort of discovery that, oh, guys, did you know
Nietzsche
that before the will to power actually was just a vitalist cap placed onto the will to live, right? There would be a group of people who've never read a book in their life who would say, "Wow, yaar, tum padh ke aaye ho," okay? And everyone else who has ever bothered sincerely engaging with the world of philosophy, or not even philosophy, just of ideas of literature, would be like, bro, what the are you talking about?
Yeah.
Right? This is how all of it works.
Yeah.
But yeah, bro, it's ridiculous. And there's also this really weird push to minimize Iqbal's stature, which I also don't understand. Where it's like, one, it couldn't make less of a difference to me how popular he is or how vaunted he is around the world, right? Like, that's not why people like Iqbal. In fact, that just defeats his universalism conceptually. But if you look at, bro, Ali Shariati, Khomeini, Fazlur Rahman, a lot of Islamic modernists, that gentleman, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Halak,
Wael
Halak, yeah. Even him, even when he, so again, this is a good example, right? So he critiques Iqbal and he says that, there were points where he was too taken in by the nation state or the colonial project, and him saying that parliamentarism is a valid form of shura is absorbing a Westphalian concept. I'm not entirely like, I actually see the sense in that argument, right? But could he escape engaging with Iqbal? Was his response to Iqbal not built atop Iqbal? Of course it was.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Midwits, man. Midwits. They've been watching our content.